Former NBA star Gilbert Arenas has stood up for Zach LaVine and, more importantly, the Chicago Bulls, as trade talks have built up as of late. We're going to talk about more of that in this episode of Bulls Digest. I'm your host, Joey Mercer, and before we get into it today, I just want to say that about 97% of you are not subscribed. So if you're looking for a place for daily Chicago Bulls content, 7 days a week, it's right here. You found it, then look no further. Here on the channel, we're doing it. And we're going to keep you up to date on the trade rumors, post games, and anything you need to know about the Chicago Bulls of the NBA. So, without further ado, let's get into it with this episode. And we're going to be talking about Arenas on a LaVine trade. So, recently on Gilbert Arenas' podcast, he discussed different things, had a few people on, and more importantly, discussed the Chicago Bulls and how LaVine could be linked to a trade to the Los Angeles Lakers. We've visited this a few times over the past week or so, and we know that the Lakers are definitely interested in Zach LaVine. Now, Gilbert Arenas had some inside information on this, and he also had a few hot takes on both sides, being the Lakers and the Bulls, so we're going to get right into those. The first thing I saw was the Lakers are among the favorites to land Zach LaVine if the Chicago Bulls decide to trade him. According to rumors, the Lakers will likely come up with a package that includes D'Angelo Russell, who has waived his no-trade clause, Gabe Vincent, and Rui Hachimura. However, former Washington Wizards guard Gilbert Arenas says that if it were up for him, he would trade Austin Reaves instead of Russell. Interesting take there, as I know a lot of Lakers fans have seen Russell not being the guy that needs to stay there at point guard, and they want to have an upgrade if somebody moves in, and nobody in the fan base nor the front office seems to want to move Austin Reaves. I understand that Reaves is a great player, but is he as good as Zach LaVine? I don't think so. Zach LaVine's a former two-time All-Star, and although Reaves is a solid role player, he hasn't done near enough in the NBA to prove himself to be worth the value of Zach LaVine, so saying that you don't want to move him means you think you can win a championship with him, and he does make championship-winning plays that we have seen so far, but it's such a small sample size to give up on a chance of Zach LaVine if that's what it would take to get the deal done if you're the Lakers. Now, if you're the Bulls, do you want Reaves? Do you want D'Lo? Who do you want in return? We're going to talk about a little bit more of that as we get more into this episode, so stay tuned for that. Next thing I saw was the quote from Gilbert Arenas saying, "We like Lemon Daddy, but Lemon Daddy can go," referring to Austin Reaves. And I like AR, but for Zach, yeah, because at the end of the day, I will still have D'Lo being D'Lo with Zach, Bron, and AD. So he's pretty high on D'Angelo Russell's play style and his game. Although a lot of people aren't, he still definitely has some sparks of showing the player that he was while he was in Brooklyn. Ever since he has left Brooklyn, every team has been a little bit worse with him on it, and he struggled to really find a role to fit into, and maybe the Chicago Bulls could be the place for him where he can blossom into the potential fringe all-star that he was while he was with the Brooklyn Nets. The next thing I read in this article was, according to Arenas, he isn't sure if Reaves can be the Lakers' full-time point guard if D'Lo is shipped out. He also says that the Bulls will likely prefer a player like Lemon Daddy, don't know why they had to refer to him as that here again, but instead of a point guard like D'Lo, because they already have enough point guards, including Lonzo Ball, who is still hurt. So I'm going to have to disagree there. We do not have a lot of point guards. Javon Carter, Dosunmu is really more of a shooting guard. He can play point guard, but we haven't seen enough of the playmaking from him for me to really feel comfortable with him playing that role. And then realistically, we just have Kobe White, who once again is in between the one and the two because his playmaking is up and down. He is a better playmaker than Ayo, but it's still up and down. It's not consistent enough. I only see Javon Carter being a real true point guard on this team, and he definitely can't play starting minutes at the time, and he is okay off the bench, but he hasn't been tremendous so far and has been fairly inconsistent where he has a great game followed by a poor game and so on and so forth. But if we were to get Austin Reaves, that would be a good guy to slot in. I don't think he can play point guard, which I have to agree there with Gilbert Arenas on that. He doesn't seem to be a de facto point guard. He seems more solid at a 2 or even a 3 he can play. His defense has gotten a little bit better, as it has from last year, and he really seems to be right now just the type of guy that can run a few plays through, but you don't want to run every play through. You don't want him carrying the ball up and running the offense. He's good when he can play off ball, and he can also run a few plays and likes to get to the mid-range position. He is a solid player that if we are able to obtain for Zach LaVine and some more pieces on the Lakers end, of course, it would be great. But getting D'Lo, if he was able to return to form, might even be a little bit better. Definitely. I would have to agree with Gilbert Arenas on that take for sure. Now, the next thing that I saw really was interesting. According to Arenas, he isn't sure if I want to keep D'Lo because I don't know if AR is aggressive enough to be the point guard, and then why do they need D'Lo in Chicago? They already have so many guards. Unless they get rid of or throw Caruso back to us. So they got Caruso, they got Zero, wild hair Kobe White over there. Kobe White, AR, Rui, DeMar. Yeah, that's good. You got a little nice team over there, Arenas added. Now, I don't know how I feel about that for sure. I'm not really, positive that I feel comfortable with that whole move for the Bulls if that's what they're able to keep in return. I don't really know how I feel about it. His comments, the Bulls are giving up a whole lot there, of course. We don't know if we're getting the value if now we're adding in Alex Caruso once again. But it's really hard to see where Gilbert really stands on things. It seems like he's kind of more on the Lakers side on this deal. But once again, really difficult to really decipher exactly how he feels about it. It seems like he is on LaVine's side, not the Bulls side, and then just the Lakers side in this whole ordeal. It was interesting that he brought the Lakers should move Austin Reaves, where so many people are so high on him to be kept on the Lakers, and then him be like, well, if it's for Zach LaVine, you got to do it for the greater good, which I would agree with in that sense. Rui Hachimura, if he was to be added to the Chicago Bulls, that could be a big add for us as well. He's a player that can play power forward pretty well, is shooting the ball solid so far at the start of the year, and, if he continues to develop that three-pointer, he's a pretty good stretch four with a great post game down low on the block. So I think he could be a solid guy for us to have as well. And Gabe Vincent, who has struggled and been off and on so far the year, if he is in the catch and shoot, he is a much better shooter than it is off the dribble, as he did struggle a lot off the dribble from threes when he played with Miami, which I think was definitely overlooked when he got signed by the Los Angeles Lakers, and people were so very high on him. You need to look at the fact as a point guard, if he's a guy that's spot up, that does work with LeBron James. But right now, the Lakers also need a guy who can run a bench unit if LeBron ever has to come out and take shots off the dribble, and Gabe Vincent is not very good at that. So yeah, the last thing that I want to talk about here today is front runner for LaVine. So who is going to be the team that right now is topping the odds for Zach LaVine? Well, it's a little strange. I couldn't believe it when I read it myself, and it's actually the Miami Heat at a plus 260 odds, and they're a leading candidate to land Zach LaVine. Interesting enough to see there. I don't really know what deal the Heat would have that, like, say, for example, the Lakers wouldn't have. But I guess it would be centered around maybe Duncan Robinson. I couldn't see Tyler Hero being moved. And if he was, I mean, we're in a similar situation again. Hero isn't as athletic as Zach LaVine was when he got moved to the Chicago Bulls, or even now for that matter. But Hero is dealing with so many ailing injuries. If you take him up, it is a big risk, but could be a big reward, as he looks like he's becoming a very solid scorer in the NBA. And pretty much at the level of Zach LaVine at that, if not just at it. So that would be interesting to see if they'd be willing to put that back. We will be taking some risk with the injury. It'd be interesting what the plus would be on each side, because I can't see it being a one-for-one trade with the concerns on either side there. And maybe the Miami Heat are the ones that are going to be a sleeper that I have slept on personally that can get the deal done for Zach LaVine. We're going to be talking about more of this, I'm sure, in the next episode of Bulls Digest. Make sure to like the video down below, comment on it, and I really do hope you enjoyed. We're doing this every day, as I mentioned. Good to grow the channel with all of you here, lovely people. And make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification button down below, and you'll see us every day. You won't even have to search for it. It'll be right there for you. I'm your host, Joey Mercer. Can't wait to see you in the next one.